Gianluca Franguelli is the Vice President of Drug Development at Recipharm, and after spending a couple of decades in sales and marketing roles for several international API manufacturers, Gianluca contributed a few years ago to creating a unique center of excellence at Recipharm, dedicated to drug substance development. Discover, develop, and manufacturing is something which Gianluca has a passion for. He works closely with pharmaceutical industry stakeholders, addressing broader patient needs, and non-for-profit organizations contributed to rare disease care. Gianluca holds a degree in international law, but is genuinely passionate about chemistry. He loves speed, especially on waters or tracks. And with this nice point, I will just hand the session over to you, Gianluca.
Hello everyone. Good morning, good evening. And thanks a lot to the organizer and the audience for make this event happen, and to discuss a little bit about API manufacturing trends from contract development and manufacturing organization perspective of CDMO as I'm representing here today. Today I will go through some topics which I believe are important to address to better understand what are the trends in this field. We will analyze a little bit, as Stu also has anticipated, if small molecules are still interesting for the CDMO business space, and also to understand what are the implication of the COVID breakthrough, and what are the institutions and states doing to face these issues. At the end, we will see how some institutions are looking at advanced manufacturing as a way to handle and to resolve part of these problems. But before entering into these details, I would like to spend a few minutes on the organization I'm working for, which is Recipharm, which is a Sweden-based company listed at the Nasdaq Stockholm. Is one of the top 5 CDMO in the world, global CDMO. We have more than 9,000 employees, more than 30 operative companies all over the world, big part in Europe, but also in USA, in India, and in Israel. Turnover and net sales are above $1 million. We are, as I said before, a pure CDMO. We work on development, manufacturing, and we have also, through a recent acquisition, also developed drug delivery devices, especially in the inhalation part. We work both on drug substance and drug product, both develop and manufacture. These are the drug products and the areas of interest of Recipharm, going for most of the drug formulation application, from oral solids down to injectable steroids. But a big part of the business now is also an APIs business. Coming to the API business, Recipharm has 4 facilities with more than 260 employees working on commercial APIs as well as development projects in clinical phases, supplying a global market. Here in green, you can see the area we cover. We have 4 sites, one in Sweden, one in Israel, mainly devoted to development, late stage discovery and clinical scale up. And then we have Italy and UK with development and commercial production of APIs. So this was a little bit about my organization. Coming to the 2 points here of small molecules, I'm always very interested to understand if my market perspective is aligned with other market perspective, and I've included here a sort of pool in order to understand if we are aligned on the understanding of the market coverage. We already saw some information in Molly and Stu presentation, but I would like to understand and you to select what you believe is the market share of small molecules on the pharma market so far. So if you believe it is more than 50%, you can take the first point. It is more than 65%, the second one. Or if it is more than 75, you can take on the third one. So again, if you believe that the small market is 50% size, you take the one, 65%, the second, and the third one, 75. I'll give you a few seconds, then we go to the results and see what you believe. Okay, I hope you're done. It was easy, so you should have done it. So here we have a result. It is apparently that the perception of the market is that we are more on the 65%, meaning that probably the rest is on the biologic side of things. And the result is on the next slide, where we see that small molecules market is in the range of 78%. So small molecules still is an important and key business for the API manufacturing of drug substance. So we see that 50% more or less is on the NC business, with an annual growth of 2% only, very limited. 3 times more, I would say, generics with a 6% increase and a 5% on the OTC business. True to say that among the small molecules, the high potency APIs, and it is around 13% market share with a growing of annual growth of roughly 10%. So in the CDMO part, we see that small molecules, here you can see the growth bridge of the outsourced manufacturing in the next few years. And we see that nearly 50% of the absolute CDMO market growth is done on small molecule API, a bit on clinical, but still biologic is very limited. But small molecules is very interesting part of it. So biologics still remain let's say, marginal. And as we saw before, although the subsector is growing strongly, we see 10% growth till 2023. We have to say that the last year, especially in 2020, the R&D spending on biologic has been relatively high. It was close to 35%. Biologic remain relatively part, and will remain a relatively part of the CDMO sectors. But we see that biologic is driving, for example, a little bit the growth in the high potency APIs through, for example, numerous ADC molecules, which are going on clinical phase and on development. And by ADC, I'm saying antibody drugs conjugates. Then on the gene therapy, still marginal market share, but it is fast growing, 20%. But this is due mainly to the clinical trial space. A little bit my view on the M&A activities, so merger and acquisition and expansion trends. We see both of these in the high potency API, as we saw before in the previous presentation. Most of the activities were in this area, but we see a lot of expansions also in the new technologies, like, for example, in continuous manufacturing. And this is an area where we will see later during the presentation. And we see that also for the spread of COVID-19, there was, let's say, there was an expansion in terms of investments activities, which has been redirected, for example, to short-term projects. Like I'm talking about sterile injectable capacity, for example, in the CDMO, which has been converted or expanded for the production of these vaccines, and Recipharm is one of those CDMOs. Then another trend is in development, manufacturing complexity is dramatically increasing, not only from a technical standpoint, but also environmentally, from the safety perspective and regulatory. I would say more and more complex requirements we see, and also some logistic restrictions as force manufacturers to either shorten the supply chain or increase the consolidation of existing supply connections. Last but not least, I would say several countries are implementing new processes to reshore API production in an effort to secure their supplies and contain drug shortages. We have been several of these during the last months, like I'm talking about India, where ruled a little bit around the possibility to reduce the dependency on the Chinese importation of starting material and APIs, as well in Europe, where the European Union is trying to have an harmonized approach. But I would say that in the short term, the single nationalities are working in order to try to do this. We will see how we'll do in Europe. But for sure, US is one of the countries which has a more comprehensive approach to this problem. Also because USA was one of the first to realize, not only in the COVID situation, but also before, that there was a risk in having this kind of supply chain and manufacturing development. And here in my presentation, I come to understand a little bit what US is doing, and how FDA is supporting this kind of activities. As you can imagine, this cannot be only left to the regulatory agency, but has to be done through a network of institution and agency able to build the right environment for having this kind of innovation going through. So I would say that in 2020, especially as I'm saying in US, the presidential executive orders was on ensuring essential medicines, medical countermeasures, and clinical inputs have to be made in the USA. So the government asked the authorities and institutions to enter into this and try to find a solution in order to speed it up. The target was to maximizing the domestic action, of course, and especially in procurement, identifying vulnerabilities in supply chains, streamlining the regulatory environments, prioritize and allocate especially essential medicines, and ask for a duty of report of the activities going on. This is initiated a process which was followed immediately by the FDA, which in 2020 October released a list of essential medicines where the US company can refer to in order to speed up securing the supplies. But in January, very recently, in January 2021, FDA released a document in order to enable and accelerate the adoption of advanced manufacturing technology to strengthen the public health infrastructure. And this FDA is trying to create, I would say, a new collaboration with other institutions like the National Institute of Standards and Technology through a memorandum of understanding. And this is intended to increase the U.S. medical supply chain resilience and also advance domestic manufacturing of drugs, biological products, but not only this, include also smart technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, and emerging manufacturing process. FDA is not only ruling, but through other, let's say, institutions like the BARDA or the Manufacturing USA Funding Opportunities and American Makes Opportunities, try to fund these activities. So putting the money on the table, basically. So, but what is exactly FDA considering advanced manufacturing? What do they intend? This is a term used for new product manufacturing technologies which are tended to improve quality and should have to address, of course, shortages and speed time to the market. And it can be related to different approaches like integrate novel technology, use established techniques in a new innovative way, and also apply existing production methods in new domains where there's no best practices or experiences. The target is to speed up and rapidly scale up manufacturing capabilities, shorten supply chain, accelerate development and speed availability of emerging and new therapies, and also provide a tool to address drug shortages. Among the advanced manufacturing, a specific chapter is on continuous manufacturing, which is, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically a change in the way manufacturing is performed, going from batch to batch manufacturing, which is the standard, to a manufacturing process, which is a continuous output of production. And FDA described this as one of the today's tools for modernizing the pharmaceutical industry. Here you can see that the rules and the guidelines and the activities on this part of innovation go back to a few years ago, starting in 2015 with some funding to some consortiums to develop this kind of technology, which is present since years, but never took off in the past. The milestone we see here in February 2019 was a guidance from FDA, which ruled how to implement this technology, how to go through the regulatory assessment, when to go there, and which landing now in January 2021, where it's really pushing in this direction. And since then, all the companies in this sector have implemented some sort of continuous manufacturing, and several products have been approved to go to the market. So we have several products now in the market which are made of continuous flow. In chemistry, continuous flow is what was called flow chemistry. And here we have a list of benefits of the flow chemistry. So in short, on the right hand of this slide, you see it's faster, cleaner, cheaper, and give competitive advantage. But going to the list of benefits, definitely you can enhance the purity and have better control of your process. You can work better when you have safety issues, or when you are handling, for example, toxic or very energetic chemistry. And this is connected to the fact that the mass you are handling is completely or is very small compared to the batch-to-batch manufacturing. You can have lower operating costs, and you can expand at the same time yields. And then, of course, you can include some cost and real-time analytics to that. And also, this gives you, especially when you are developing this kind of processes, you work in line with the design of experiment requirements. So when you go through the regulatory assessments, you can count on sound data and information to pass that assessment. On the amber part on the amber points is what Recipharm has been able to assess during these experiments and developments, and feel on the ground and try on the ground what is really the advantages of this kind of chemistry. So in summary, here we said that in CDMO is still on core business, is still on small molecules. We cannot avoid this, and especially in the foreseeable future. Then the biosector is still marginal but fast growing. So that is something we need to look at, and that advanced manufacturing is really now the time to be enforced, thanks to the government and authority regulation which are pushing for this, and which are also facilitating this. And we see that there is a big wave of M&A activities, consolidation, also expansion, especially new technologies. Recipharm is working on all of these, and as also Stud anticipated it before, we are growing, and we are receiving a lot of requests in terms of comprehensive development projects, starting from discovery, scale up, process chemistry, up to formulations. And I would say that CDMO, who are able to offer these kind of services, are really on the rise at the moment. And of course, as Recipharm is growing also through M&A, not only on organic, we are also working in this area and looking at new opportunities and additional opportunities in order to strengthen our position in the market. So I think with this last slide, I'm done. I leave it to the organizer to continue in the QA session. Thank you very much.